الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، يقول الله عز وجل: وعد الله الذين آمنوا منكم وعملوا الصالحات ليستخلفنهم في الأرض كما استخلف الذين من قبلهم وليمكنن لهم دينهم الذي ارتضى لهم وليبدلنهم من بعد خوفهم أمنا يعبدونني لا يشركون بي شيئا ومن كفر بعد ذلك فأولئك هم الفاسقون. In this blessed verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises us and tells us, Allah has made a promise to those among you who believe and do good deeds. He will make them successors to the land as He did those who came before them. He will empower the religion He has chosen for them. He will grant them security to replace their fear. They will worship me and not join anything with me. Those who are defiant after that will be the rebels. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a few things very clear for us. And that He has chosen for us this religion, that He has chosen us to be representatives of His religion, and that He will give us success if we are firm in following that religion. This verse is one of the most powerful ones that talk about the individual agency that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. The choices that He has placed in our hearts and the choices that He has placed in our hands. He Azza wa Jal is not talking about the obstacles that are here. And He even introduces these individuals as those who believe وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ and those who do good deeds. He doesn't say those individuals who believe وَنَجَحُوا and those people who are successful. Because success is always going to be subjective. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the only thing He wants from us are two: that we believe in Him and that we work. Because when we look at how to determine success, or how to determine failure, or how to determine outcome, or how to determine results, then all of those things are in His Azza wa Jal's hands. All He wants from us is to work. And He promises us, if you work, you will be successful. And maybe that success doesn't measure up to my standard, or it doesn't measure up to your standard, or it doesn't measure up to his or her standard. But success is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala determines and deems to be success. And sometimes we don't see it. Sometimes it's difficult to picture. Sometimes when we see our brothers and sisters and their shortcomings and their failings, many times when we look in our own mirrors and we see our shortcomings and our failures, we think that we have failed. But that is not for me to determine. That is not for me to judge. I am obligated to work. I am obligated to continue. I am obligated to push forward. And if we understand that we are obligated to work and obligated to push forward, it doesn't matter the obstacles that are in front of us. It doesn't matter what the hurdles are and what the hardships are. It doesn't matter how insurmountable the odds might seem. It doesn't matter how difficult the outlook might be. Because at the end, success is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hands. And how He brings that success is completely up to Him. And He tells us, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. That whoever has taqwa of Allah, then Allah will make a way for him and provide for him in ways that he could not have imagined. And I know every single one of us has faced a difficulty, has faced a hardship, didn't know when I was going to make rent, didn't know how I was going to put gas in my car, didn't know how I was going to put food in the fridge, didn't know how I was going to pay the electric bill, didn't know how I was going to pay the gas bill, and all of a sudden Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a way and opens something for us. Why? Because Allah sees us when we come to the prayer and that worry and that thing is gnawing at our hearts that I am in my salah and I am praying and I'm wondering, how am I going to feed my family today? I'm praying and I'm wondering, what are we going to do? It is a cold night and I'm scared to turn the electricity up. That I need to get to X place, how am I going to get there? I don't even know if I'm going to be able to put gas in my car. And if we look at each of those individual events, in those individual hardships, those were a means for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to teach us and show us how steadfast, how much sabr we have, to show us how much we can bear, and to show us that if we trust in Him, He will make a way for us. And we only have to do two things. We have to believe in Him, and we have to keep doing good deeds. And those good deeds, وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدِ, are a buffet. Some of us enjoy praying, some of us enjoy fasting, some of us enjoy socializing and making other people feel good. Some of us enjoy giving to others. Some of us enjoy contributing. Some of us enjoy sitting down and having conversation, making others people and helping other people. And all of these are a means to paradise. All of these are different ways that I can draw near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seek His happiness. And the beauty of the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's not like the relationship we have with other people. Allah tells me, I want you to do this, this, and this, and I will be happy with you. And the beauty of that is that if I do 1, 2, and 3, He will be happy with me. But with people, they can give me a list of 10 things, and even if I do all 10 things, it's not necessary that they be happy with me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very plain, He's very clear, He's very precise in what He wants from us and what He tells us to do, so that we can do those deeds which He is telling us to perform in order to remove the hardships that we face in our lives. But that does not guarantee that those hardships will stop. It doesn't mean Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to stop testing us. Those tests will continue to come, and we are obligated to continue to do good deeds. We are obligated to continue working. We are obligated to continue drawing near to Him Azza wa Jal. And He Azza wa Jal, He tells us in a hadith Qudsi that whoever shows enmity to a wali of mine, I declare war against him. My slave does not draw near to me with anything dearer to me than what I have made obligatory for him. And in this beautiful hadith we learn that the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala obligated the prayer and the zakah and the sawm and the hajj is because these are the actions that He loves most. And if I want Him to love me, then I do those actions which He Azza wa Jal has obligated, because these are the ones He loves most. Then He goes on to say, my slave continues to draw near to me by doing extra deeds until I love him. And when I love him, I become the hearing with which he hears, the sight with which he sees, the hand with which he strikes, and his foot with which he walks. That a person reaches a point where every time he looks at something, he remembers Allah. Every time he listens to something, he remembers Allah. Every time he walks towards something, he remembers Allah. Every time he picks something up, he remembers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what true taqwa is. Every time I open the door, every time I shake somebody's hand, every time I talk to my son, to my friend, every time I walk to a place, that before I initiate any of those things, that I remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make sure that the way that I'm speaking, the way that I'm closing the door, the way that I'm walking, is not one that has pride, is not one that has arrogance, and is not one that protects me from my own ego. Because my ego is my biggest obstacle. And many of us will say that it is the West, or it's Israel, or it's the non-Muslims, or it's this group of people, or it's these politicians. They're all stopping us. It's the media. No. The only thing stopping my success is me. And how do I know that I don't need to worry about any of those things? Because Allah tells me, He says, وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. That these individuals, whatever they're planning, whatever they're scheming, because they're unseen, who do we turn to protect us from the unseen? We turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He says Himself that don't worry about these things. I will take care of them. Your job, too. Believe in me and do good deeds. Keep working. Keep moving forward. Keep acting. The only thing that is going to stop me is me. In the moment I believe that other people have power over me, I've lost. The only thing stopping the community from growing is the fact that we are tripping over our own 2 feet. The only thing that is stopping us from expanding is because we don't have the will to do it. And I challenge every single one of us here, every single one. Have we ever been to a fundraiser, or when we were in need, or if we had to bury someone, or if someone needed help getting married, or someone needed a job, that the community did not come forward? I cannot think of a time where that happened. I cannot think of a moment where the community did not step up. I cannot think of a time where the community did not step forward. I cannot think of a time where we would wonder that how are we going to take care of this? How are we going to fund this? How is this going to happen? We don't have enough people. وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Many times, all we have to do is just change the way we think, and Allah will bless the path. The hadith goes on to say what? Were he to ask me for something, I would surely give it to him, and were he to seek refuge with me, I would surely grant him refuge. I do not hesitate to do anything as I hesitate to take the soul of the believer, for he hates death and I hate to hurt him. This is how much He Azza wa Jal loves us. All we have to do is embrace that love. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from His muhibbin and make us from His awliya. Wa aqulu qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum lisa'il muslimin min kulli dhanbin khati'a innahu huwal ghafurur rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidil Anbiya wa Mursaleen, Nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. يقول الله عز وجل أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this verse, do people think they will be left alone after saying we believe without being put to the test? Just because I pray, I fast, I give my zakah, maybe Allah gave me an opportunity to make hajj, do I believe now that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will leave me alone? This is, all of these things are for my betterment. Allah doesn't need them. Allah doesn't need me to stop eating. Allah doesn't need me to put my head on the ground. I do these things because I want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be pleased with me. And just because He's pleased with me doesn't mean that He's going to give me a car or give me a house or help me get married. Because it's not, I give you this Allah and Allah gives me this. No. I will keep working and keep doing and keep believing because I want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be happy with me. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from those who He is pleased with and allow us to enter His paradise. Ameen. And every time we practice this agency, every time we work, every time we do good deeds, Allah will test us further. And I want to share with you one story. There was an individual, his father was murdered in front of him by the KKK. He saw his mother become mentally unstable and placed into a mental institution, and all of this was before he reached puberty. He was raised in the streets. He didn't have any family support. And usually what happens as such happens with those who grow up without parents, is that he entered the prison system. And it was there that he was sentenced to 10 years. And he began to read. And he began to study. And he began to learn. And when he came out, he ended up becoming a public leader. He ended up speaking on behalf of those who were oppressed, speaking on behalf of those who were abused. This individual was then given an opportunity to make Hajj. And during Hajj, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened his heart and showed him the diversity of the Muslims and how they ate together, how they sat together, and how they worked together. And it was this point that he had reached his final step and his final stage of fully embracing Islam and understanding the importance of the relationships in the religion. He came back and he began speaking and preaching about the importance of Islam. And it was at that point that he stood up and 4 men pulled out their guns and they shot him to death. And all of us know this very famous individual, Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on him. His wife always felt threatened. His children always in danger. There are many famous images of him that we are all aware of. He did not have an easy life. But because he didn't have an easy life, and because of the hardship that he went through, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the position that he did. This life is not meant to be easy. This world, it is called Dar al-Ibtila, the world of tests. Why? Because the next world is the one of Jaza, Dar al-Jaza. He was not the first to experience hardship, and he will not be the last. But if we take those experiences and use them to help us remember and help keep us humble and then come back to doing good deeds, then inshallah we have succeeded. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us all successful. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give shifa, to give healing to all of those who are ill. I ask Him to have mercy on all of those who are past. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help all of those who are in any type of financial hardship, in their hardship. I ask Him Azza wa Jal to help all of those who are in debt, to come out of that debt. And lastly and finally, I ask Him and I seek Him and I plead to Him Azza wa Jal to gather up in His paradise, just like He's gathered us here today. وَأَقُولُ قَوْلِي هَذَا وَأَسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهَ لِي وَلَكُمْ لِسَائِرِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ مِنْ كُلِّ ذَنبٍ خَطِيئَةٍ إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ